Should we talk about this Paul Finebaum quote today?
Yeah,
we have to.
All right. I guess I have to read it. This is now. I don't know if we can call Paul a friend of this show because Paul's never been on. I guarantee you Paul does not watch us.
Probably not.
But we are a friend of that show. I've been on several times, so I want to not tread lightly here, but I just want to read it, and then we can give opinions based off that.
It's a Paul Finebaum heater of the offseason.
It's
nothing different.
This is the heat check. I frankly believe Georgia's problem is at the offensive coordinator position. Kirby Smart, for as great as I believe he is being way too loyal to Mike Bobo, and I would get rid of Bobo today. I think you could walk down Peachtree Street and get a better offensive coordinator than Bobo. Now,
Peachtree Street is such an interesting pool, too.
You got to go all the way to Atlanta to do that?
Yeah. Guys, he's referencing Buster Faulkner.
I know.
Okay, you guys did. I didn't. I just put it together as I was reading that. When I read that first quote, my mind went, walk around 30 minutes, you'll throw a rock at somebody and find somebody. But, so we're back on the dead horse of you got to fire Bobo. Right on it. Ironically, we followed it up right after talking about loyalty and then Paul criticizing Kirby for loyalness.
Loyalty to a fault. To a fault, he called it. I think at this point you're used to stuff like that. Like,
you're talking about from Bobo's perspective?
From Bobo's
from our perspective?
From Bobo's perspective, from the fan base's perspective, from our perspective. Like, I think if you're a Georgia fan and you haven't heard some form of criticism thrown towards Mike Bobo's way, you're either living under a rock or you just don't pay attention to the football team that much. It is what it is at that point. I think that you can analyze the criticisms that are made towards Mike Bobo. You can throw the statistics. You can throw all these things. You can throw the film up and show that, hey, say everything you want about how great Todd Monken was. The plays are the exact same. Like, there's not that much of a change. It's been the output of players and all those things. Like, there's a million different ways you can go with it. I think it's just at a point now where, this is kind of the lazy take, but it's the off season. Things like these are going to be said about coordinators, especially when you're coming off of a year as disappointing as Georgia's offense had. Like, Carson Beck underperformed, the wide receiver room underperformed. Other than Nate Frazier and Trevor Etienne, I would say that across the board, your offense underperformed, and that's obviously going to fall in the lap of Mike Bobo, who already wasn't in fantastic standing with a lot of members of the fan base. So it makes sense to me. I don't think I necessarily agree with it. And the shot at, Buster Faulkner is the better OC. Maybe, whatever. I don't think, but...
Before you get going, I want to peel the curtain back just a little bit. Jonathan, since 8 o'clock, has been doing live show and writing live updates. By the way, I want to stop because I just looked at the numbers. People are reading the piss out of it. So keep working hard, buddy, because we're actually we're going to be able to pay the bills tomorrow.
Lights stay on?
Lights staying on inside the studio because Jonathan's out here grinding with the live updates. If you are a Georgia baseball fan, I think we're doing a great job this year. We always do. We always try to do a good job. We are making it a point to be out here covering and giving live updates on all those basketball games because it's not like baseball games because it's not like hoops. In hoops, you're on ESPN, you're on main television or at least SEC Network. Some of these baseball games, man, the only way you're going to be able to keep up with them is through live updates like what we got going on Georgia Bulldogs on SI. So that's si.com/college/Georgia. Enough of that right there. But yeah, what's the score on that?
It is tied 4-4, top of the fourth. Dogs have a runner on third, no outs.
It's got to be later than top of the fourth.
Or sorry, top of the ninth.
Okay, top of the ninth.
Sorry, my bad.
Kennesaw State, good football or good baseball program as per usual.
I mean, the state's loaded with talent, so those schools can find some good under the radar players.
Absolutely. Yeah, Finebaum on a heater. I think we can move on from that.
I was going to say this actually.
Oh yeah, my bad. I cut you off.
I just had some friends of mine send out a text because of course, they sent the quote that Paul Finebaum gave, and they said kind of hard to disagree with him here. I think Bobo's not. I don't think Bobo's terrible, but I think he's a mid-play caller. And then the infamous, in my opinion, statement of this is the University of Georgia. This shouldn't be the standard. We can go out and hire anybody that we want. And that kind of irked me just because we talked about this with Ohio State fans when they were looking for a defensive coordinator and offensive coordinator of this is Ohio State. We expect to be able to go in. And this isn't just Ohio State fans. This is people that aren't even fans of the program. They're saying, like, go hire the Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator. Like, yeah, you are the University of Georgia. You are one of the best jobs for anybody in the country, and you are a desirable location. But we continue to see in these coaching changes that, like, there aren't these massive names jumping ship to go other places. And I know that Georgia moves the needle a lot more than others, but it isn't like when you ask people, like, all right, if you fire Mike Bobo, who are you going to go get? Well, let's get Buster Faulkner. Well, what if Buster Faulkner doesn't want to come?
But why wouldn't he? He's at Georgia Tech. Here's why. Buster Faulkner is one more good year away from being the head coach at Wake Forest or being the head coach at insert Power 5 football program right now. That's why. I think Buster Faulkner is waiting around to become a head coach, and I'm not saying you restart your clock if you go become the offensive coordinator at Georgia, but if you leave the offensive coordinator job at Georgia Tech to become the offensive coordinator at Georgia, we probably take our name out of head coaching searches for at least another calendar year, and I think that's part of the reason. So yeah, there's that. I think it's a great name, and it's awesome that. Like Buster's a state of Georgia guy, played college football at Valdosta State, was on that Valdosta State staff, went to Southern Miss, came back, was a Georgia offensive analyst, and then became offensive coordinator at Georgia Tech. He's from Parkview High School. He's a lifetime Georgia guy. I understand. But maybe he's waiting his turn to be a head coach very, very soon. Maybe there's intel on that from a forefront too.
Not even that, like, I think we've gone too deep into the weeds of like Buster Faulkner is the answer to the problems, and it's just not an attainable answer. Mike Bobo is not a bad offensive coordinator.
No.
And I think that the play calling criticisms of Mike Bobo are where I really get frustrated, because it's like the classic, and I don't want to throw your friends in the bus.
No, it's fine.
The classic is 2 runs up the middle in the pass. Mike Bobo is so predictable. There's so many more nuances to football than that, and that's not what it is.
Well, and it's so funny to me too, and because like when you talk about the quarterback position, like anybody who was talking about Carson Beck this year as a Georgia fan, if people started crapping on Carson Beck's play as someone who supports Carson Beck, it was, well, his receivers can't catch the ball. But then the inverse is done with Mike Bobo, and nobody seems to care or even consider that fact of maybe why the numbers were down of Mike Bobo can't go out there and catch it. Like, I just think there's so many factors that played into this year that you can't just point at the guy calling the plays, because calling plays really never felt like a major issue when the offense was so stagnant for multiple reasons.
I'm going to go and let you know right now. Okay, we talked about this pre-show. I just want to bring this to our audience's attention. Okay, Andy Catalanecki is the offensive coordinator at Penn State. They hired him out of Kansas. He spent 11 years with Leipold. This is, if you go look any top 10, top 15, top 25 offensive coordinator job open or offensive coordinator list, you're going to find Andy Catalanecki on it from Penn State. He did a really good job this year. Took him to a quarterfinal, and everybody's really, really happy with him. However, if he were Georgia's offensive coordinator, and you watch Georgia lose to a rival the way that Penn State did against Ohio State, you would lose your freaking mind. Okay? If you don't remember, Andy Catalanecki ran the same play 3 times in a row against Ohio State on the goal line, and then the 4th play decided he was going to go play action when the whole stadium knew they were going to play action. They lose the football game with an opportunity to win it, ball at the 2. Okay? If that happened at the University of Georgia, you'd want him fired, even though the world of college football thinks he's a top 10 guy at the position. All I'm trying to point out is that position, the offensive coordinator job, is so outcome-based when it's a process-based coaching position. And I think the processes at Georgia are really good. You know why I believe that? Because I believe in the head coach. And I may be an idiot for believing in Kirby Smart, but I don't think I am. I had to bring up the Catalanecki thing, man, because I watch people who think are innovative, creative coordinators that do fun stuff get on the goal line and wet down their leg.
Not even that. Like, and this isn't OC calling, but Marcus Freeman was praised universally in the Sugar Bowl for that 4th down punt thing that he did. It was genius. The balls of Marcus Freeman. This is incredible. And why was that? Because it resulted in a 1st down. Georgia jumped off sides, and Marcus Freeman's a hero. 2 games later, they ran a fake punt on 4th and 6 in the national championship. Would have worked had the receiver caught it, and Marcus Freeman was lambasted and dragged through the mud for, that's a terrible call in that moment. Everyone knew you were running fake. Why would you do that? It's the margins are so, like you said, it's all results based. If the player catches the touchdown, it's a great call. If he drops it, what are we doing? Like it's unfortunate for these guys because the success of your job is not in your hands technically. There's some play that you have to do it, but Mike Bobo drew up winners last year.
I will say this. If the starts to the football games do not get better, I'm with you.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that includes everybody. Okay, that means Arian, the X receiver can't miss a call, all right, to start the football game against Alabama. That same receiver can't drop a touchdown pass on the first possession of the football game. Okay, I might have to go back and look at it. How many 3rd and 10s this year to start drives? How many third downs ended on the first drive of the football game because a wide receiver dropped them? 3 of them against Georgia Tech to start the football game. 3. Okay, 2 of them against Alabama. So some of these games, Auburn, I think there were some drops early on in that football game as well. Mississippi State, there's an early interception because we can't get a defensive lineman's hands down. Coordinator sucks. Starts suck. I don't know if that's the case. Now, our answer as analysts can't always be we just trust Kirby Smart.
Sure. And I'm with you on, like, if you don't see improvement this year, then criticism is warranted. Like, asking for a change, I think, would be an answer for this.
We're fresh off of him taking Monken's core, all right, changing the quarterback, getting Carson in there, but having the same core around the quarterback and doing better. He did better statistically in 2023 than they did in 2022.
No, by the way, didn't have Brock Bowers for a third of the year. Didn't have Ladd McConkey for a third of the year.
And still did better.
Had a quarterback making his first start.
He was the first guy at the University of Georgia to score more than 41 points per game since Mike Bobo, when he had the same core. So the deterioration of the talent we've talked about a ton. Offensive line's gotten worse. Wide receiver core's gotten worse. Tight end core's obviously gotten worse. Running back core gotten a little bit worse. And that goes back to what we talked about in the National Hour. There's just a spreading of this talent going out everywhere. You're not going to have I talked to somebody about this the other day. Every day that goes by, I think we get further and further confirmation of just how great those rosters were in 2021 and 2022. Man. Just how supremely dominant, the top to bottom, those 22 starters were on both sides of the football.
Hell, you just watched a third of them win a Super Bowl. Went dominate in the Super Bowl. So,
I mean, the defense has had a statistical decline.
They got a rush this year.
It finally happened. I saw some people questioning Glenn Schumann on the timeline. I immediately blocked them, but it is what it is. All right, I've got the latest on 2